On Joy News Prime, former President Rawlings reacts to book authored by former appointee Professor Kwame Ahoy, denying several claims he describes as misinformation and in the process making his own exposés. Would bring you details. Military officers storm Obom, Faase and surrounding communities after 2 soldiers were injured in a bomb action in that community on Tuesday.
Me beti say yes, a soldier for Baha, a man to Quebiesi. Intinia meti ya no. Na me say enunti ma ahaye menyamenya sana no me say ai. Tinia say they see potty dear.
Former President Mahama reiterates his big push initiative to commit $10 billion to infrastructure development should he be elected in December this year. This was at Menchia, where he introduced his running mate to the Asante.
Rail line, so the Bifian Kayaba, Buankra, Obikra, and the container near the sea railway or so, near Bayu or Buankra. Instead of so, Bakota Madako container, no Buankra, no Akofanadia. It is annual money and was a big push.
Also in this bulletin, government touts its achievement in the local government sector.
Performing, and we are ensuring that the district assemblies get the resources to do what they want to do, whatever. They decide on their activities and they implement them.
And in business?
Aviation Minister said to inspect country's airports ahead of September 1 reopening.
They're busy putting all the finishing touches together. We invite you tomorrow to come and join us to have a walkthrough of the preparations that we are undertaking to see if we can really start operating again 1st September. I think we've done quite a good job.
And later in this bulletin, the Mahia community says early signs they may eventually benefit from President Akufo-Addo's year of road declaration. They, however, tell Joy News they remain cautiously optimistic.
Most of the times, you know, a true election time, no more they fire because we, yes,
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Kikumlemle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144.
Joy News Prime headline.
Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with hundreds of residents of Faase in the Gassot municipality who have deserted their homes after 2 soldiers were brutalized by some community members on Tuesday in what is believed to be a dispute over land. About 50 soldiers moved in after the disturbances, but most of the residents are said to have fled before new troops arrived. The few women and children left behind tell Joy News all men in the Faase community have fled to surrounding villages. The military personnel who will not speak to Joy News could still be seen searching homes. My colleague Roland Walker was there earlier this morning.
Scores of residents of this community, we're talking about Faase, have deserted the town because we had hundreds of military personnel who had been deployed here 24 hours after brutality was meted out to 2 military personnel, very well uniformed. The incident had also meant that either side of a faction over a disputed land for which they accuse an Achim chief and possibly some high-ranking military officials on ownership and one's claim is under dispute. Scenes of empty houses becoming synonymous with, until 24 hours ago, a once vibrant community. Scores of military men storming Faase created fear and panic among inhabitants, leading to an entire community fleeing to nearby villages, perhaps to escape the wrath of the military personnel whose 2 colleagues had been brutally assaulted a day earlier. And typical of such situations, residents, at least those remaining, mainly women and children, had stories to tell.
Me beti say yes, a soldier for Baha, a man to Quebiesi. Intinia meti ya no. Na me say enunti ma ahaye menyamenya sana no me say ai. Tinia say they see potty dear. Ma,
Okay. Sister Evelyn, thank you.
you.
So we're speaking to Madam Evelyn, and she said that even though she lives here, she was not around when the incident happened, and then she just came this morning and got wind of what may have transpired. Okay. So what she's saying is that she went to church, she was not around. It looks like the few that we're seeing in the community were not around when the incident happened. So, but those who were around when the incident happened don't seem to be in the community. Again, the story remains, who will find the culprits? But a bigger question is, where are the missing residents?
My colleague Roland Walker with that report. 92 shops belonging to foreign traders at the Swami magazine have been locked as a trade ministry committee on foreign retail trade clamped down on violators of trade laws in Kumasi. 51 shops were closed on Wednesday, in addition to the 41 that were closed at the start of the exercise on Tuesday. The focus has been on foreign traders who are not complying with provisions of the GIPC Act at the Swami magazine artisanal hub. The committee says it gave the affected traders 18 months to comply with the directives of the investment agreement. Prince Apia has more in the following report.
This is my tax clearance. This is also GIPC.
The Ghana Foreigners Retail Trade Impasse has lingered for many years. On Monday, the Committee of Foreigners in Retail Trade under the Trade Ministry visited shops without proper documentation of GIPC and locked them. Spare parts dealer Stephen Oswola is one of them.
All the documents was right, but still they asked me to get out of the shop. They want to lock the shop, so I don't know the reason.
Inscriptions pasted on locked-up shops warns anyone that tampers with the lock will attract extra sanctions. Nana Kwabna Pepra is a member of the committee.
The team has been here for almost 18 months, and then we did the assessment, check their documents and other things. So we have given them almost 18 months to regularize, to do the right thing, and then they have not done it.
The committee says the shops will be open when traders regularize their operations with respect to the proper documentations.
You've seen so many institutions doing trading in Ghana, like Melcoms, the Matmats, and then they are all doing retail trading, but they are all complying with our investment laws. We are not saying they shouldn't do, but they should do the right thing, what the law says. If the law says do that, and do the trading, do that, and do the trading. So the notices that we place on the shops, it shows them where to go and then regularize those documents and then do their trading.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Union of Traders Association says they are being cheated unfairly. Kizito Obiora is the chairman.
They started the operation yesterday, so now they have locked 41 shops so far. Majority of those shops they locked have registered with Register General, registered with Internal Ghana Revenue Authority, have their resident permit, and pay all the necessary taxes, but say their shops were locked.
Mr. Obiora is therefore calling on the Nigerian government to evacuate them if possible.
Since last year, November till now, to renew our resident permit is a very difficult and I don't know the reason, mainly for Nigerians. Whenever you send your passport to immigration, they will say, oh, Nigerian passport. They will not do anything. The passport will be lying there. They will not tell you. After paying everything, they won't give it to you. I don't know whether it's deliberately. They're deliberately doing that just to harm us this time around. And that's the reason why majority of our people now will not able to renew their permit. But still, those who have renewed their permit, their shop were locked. To show you that this issue of register or no register is not the problem. If truly what happened yesterday is what government asked them to do, which means we are not saving Ghana. We are just pleading to our government. Let our government come for our aid. Possible to evacuate us, let us go back to Nigeria.
The committee will continue the inspection process till Friday. Prince Apia reporting.
And so to come in this bulletin, Maya community sees early signs they may eventually benefit from President Akufo-Addo's declaration of this year as Year of Roads.
Most of the times, you know, through election time, no more they fire because we, yes,
There is more when we return from this break. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, former President Jerry John Rawlings has refuted a number of claims made by former appointee Professor Kwame Ahoy in a book he recently published, Working with Rawlings. The former president, in the detailed response to the book, gave his own account of some of the events, including a phone call he received from the late President Mills from South Africa, informing him he was no longer interested in contesting the 2000 elections, which brought him to power. Now, my colleague Elton Brobe is joining me in the studio with details of the former president's response, which reached Joy News in the last few hours. I mean, it's important, Elton, for us to get to the bottom of this matter. We need a background to all of this. Break it all down for us.
So remember the book written by Professor Kwame Ahoy, Working with the Rawlings. He made some allegations, some allusions in the paper and attributed it to Mr. Rawlings. Now, Mr. Rawlings, after the release of this particular book, made some comments. But this is the first time he's officially responding to all the issues raised against him in that publication. And this is 11-page response released by the Office of the President, of the former president, in response to the book written by Professor Kwame Ahoy. Now, some of the pointers in this particular book includes Mills' private call to him, Mr. Rawlings, and this was in 2006. Also, the 2008 NDC campaign, Attack Kwabena Kuma, and we are talking about Atade Mocheman. Also, he talked about his vision, his legacy. He goes on to talk about the founder of the Fourth Republic and whether or not he was in favor of the 1992 Constitution, Nana Konadu and the NDC, the sacrifice and what he describes as betrayal. Also, the April 2000 Congress and a few others.
Yeah.
Now, let's zoom in on this phone call he had with the late Professor Mills. Now, according to Mr. Rawlings, in this response to Professor Kwame Ahoy, after his landslide victory in 2006 NDC primaries, candidate Mills traveled to South Africa for medical treatment. Whilst in South Africa, Mills put up a call to the president, Rawlings, and indicated his desire to forego the candidature for the presidential election owing to his medical state. Now, following this conversation, according to Mr. Rawlings, he held a meeting with some leading members of the party to express concern about the state of candidate Mills' health and urged him to identify somebody within the party who could step in. According to the statement, Mr. Rawlings is on record as having suggested that some known personalities in the party should position themselves to demonstrate that the NDC had enough presidential materials. Now, the book made reference to the fact that Mr. Rawlings had called Ato Ahoy, senior brother of Professor Kwame Ahoy, and impressed on him the need for him to put himself up to lead the NDC in the 2008 general elections. And according to Ms. Ahoy's book, the two of them met Kwame Ahoy, Ato Ahoy, and Kwesi Ahoy, and decided to rather support the late Mills in his presidential bid. Now, according to Mr. Rawlings in this response, owing to urging some members of the party to position themselves for a potential contest was in no way an attempt to undermine, sabotage, betray, or malign Professor Mills, as the author shamelessly inferred in his book. Now, according to him, more disappointing is the impression created that he was and is unaware of that critical phone call from Professor Mills to President Rawlings. It is rather, according to him, telling of him to deny this well-known crisis merely in his bid to derail and denigrate the genuine effort of former President Rawlings to arrest a crisis. Now, the book also spoke about the relationship that existed between Mr. Rawlings and the late Mills, and what may have occasioned the frosty relationship that existed during the presidency of Professor Mills. Now, Mr. Rawlings has been explaining the genesis or the foundation of what came out to constitute that frosty relationship that existed between the two. And according to him, the failure of the Mills government to investigate the assassination of the Yana and 40 of his elders was one of the issues. 2, President Mills' inability to look into the death of Alhaji Issa Mobila, the late Northern Regional Chairperson of the CPP. The failure of the Mills government to investigate and prosecute genuine fraudulent activities within President Kufuor's administration. Indeed, in the book, reference is made to the fact that the late Mills stopped an ongoing agenda that was in motion to prosecute some functionaries of the Kufuor administration. According to Mr. Rawlings, he was in favor of that prosecution, but that did not happen. And this was one of the key issues that brought up that disagreement between the two of them. And lastly, the lack of dedication of the party ideals of probity and accountability, as well as the monetization of the NDC internal electoral process. And according to these 4 issues were the foundation for their rather frosty relationship that existed during the Mills presidency.
There's also the bit about the book where Kwame Nahue himself talks about his relationship with the Rawlings, which wasn't really, a smooth one. Did he also respond to that?
And this refers to whether or not Mr. Rawlings was in the position to accept the outcome of the referendum that mooted the idea for a constitution to govern the country. And Mr. Rawlings is quite emphatic in his response to Professor Kwame Nahue in this book. According to him, prior to the return to constitutional rule in 1992, he had initiated and supervised a process of transition to constitutional rule as early as 1986 through the actualization of the district assembly concept at a primary grassroots democratic organ. Subsequently, the National Commission on Democracy sought opinions from Ghanaians on the best form of democratic governance to adopt. Eventually, according to him, the former president was presented with a report and recommendation for an expansion of the district assemblies system into regional and national assemblies, where individuals would nominate themselves for election. For him, he has never shied away from stating that he is not a supporter of multi-party democracy because it tends to allow a minority to manipulate and rule the majority and brings about division. In his own words, in spite of a strong reservation, he will accept the integrity of the information from his team to adopt a multi-party system of democratic governance and actually stood as a presidential candidate in both 1992 and the 1996 elections. And due to his faith in his team and desire to prioritize the national development agenda, he chose not to exercise his veto ahead of state, despite his reservation about multi-party system. So this is, according to him, is a far departure from what is contained in the books, trying to give the impression that he was against the 1992 Constitution.
I've had a number of comments on that, but this is certainly a matter that has just begun, and we'll be keeping our eyes on, and of course, getting to the bottom of this whole issue of whose story or who is telling the right story with regards to the ex-president Jerry John Rawlings. But away from that, after years of suffering respiratory infections and miscarriages among expectant mothers as a result of dusty and pothole-riddled roads, the people of Ablekuma and adjoining communities will soon heave a sigh of relief as contractors commence work to put bitumen on the stretch. The road, according to residents, has caused them great pain and remains the main cause of the frequent breakdown of their vehicles. So though the residents are excited that the road will eventually be tarred, they say they remain cautiously optimistic. Latif Idris has been on that road and has more in the following report.
After years of wailing over lost pregnancies by expectant mothers and fruitless lamentation by vehicle owners over damages done to their vehicle or on this particular stretch of road, I'm talking about the 26-kilometer stretch of road within the Gan West municipality, spanning from Ablekuma to Manhian to Joman in Sakina and Oduman. It appears the wait is over and work is about to begin on this particular stretch.
We want to strengthen the base. So you will be mixing the gravel with the crash rock you see, that you call the chippings. You will be mixing to strengthen the base because of the tippers and those things moving around.
So that's, is this what you are going to do and then you leave it, or you are going to add on to that?
We are going to add on to that. We are going to put bitumen on it after this one.
Yes. How soon are you going to get that done?
They never put material like this on it before. like I said, you want to strengthen the base, and before the bitumen will come, you have to make sure you are doing good work.
Tiasana Nado say, Uncle Swan on your intemae. Ye duania a yin futu nkwa na eba ohun to ye panicho. On man and in coquano on your mai.
Yeah, a shop no cement and Rombiniema, or shed the pipe on why pa, I cry easy. And easy crack, because I can't tip of way, as if we buy and foot as I said, you may cheat, they boguya swear.
But while some of the residents express joy about the start of work on this stretch, there are those who are a bit skeptical.
Most of the times, through election time, no more they fire because we, yes, I had that. The last time, press conference, demonstrations, Niama, Honorable Ankasa ba in Sakina say very short time about a until be I bet me a fan say because of election in no mobile. Nemozenye nuntin sooner or more yama ya na eternity.
No quale noni ya no rode na ya no imbe mo ke yili 100% yemi eja keshi beneshe ke noni aka afi obi ane le janyungbo bami janyungbo bami eja keshi adesandi wo ewo nyo hegbomo adesan ye ke otu ife ewo ke kolamba fe ka hye ko ni mo ko mba ba cha no na kajibo ni mi nale sinye mahema wo mi ake ambanye amefe last facto jogba ke gbena no le beja nyungba ba mi.
But for the municipal chief executive of the Ga West municipality, the road construction is not a gimmick to win the votes of the people, but it's part of the administration's year of roads declaration.
It's not a campaign trick. It's part of a year of roads. And the president was given 4 years to be at the office. So it's part of his administrative works. So it's not because of the campaign. But if you are not hungry, you will eat. So if you are hungry, you have to cook and eat. So I would not say it's not because of the campaign or it's because of the campaign, but people want to see what the president have promised them, that this year is a year of road, and every municipality is going to get its share. So that is our share. Yeah.
Are we to believe that real work will be done and that this is not just something to start and then you just come and run over the road, smoothing it, and then tomorrow you are off? After the elections, then that's it, you park, and then we don't see you back on the road again?
Not at all, because if you like, tomorrow morning, I'm going on the road. I'm there with them every 6 hours, I go there. And I'm making sure that the contractor is working. As I speak, we need a site for even the chippings. So it means the contractor is ready for the bitumen. And within the 18 months, as it has been given to her as a contractor, she's going to finish the 26-kilometer road. It's not just a saying. I mean, we are working,
Also live on Joy News Prime, still to come in this bulletin, former President Mahama reiterates his Big Push initiative to commit $10 billion to infrastructure development should he be elected in December this year. This was at a Menchia where he introduced his running mate to the Asantehene.
Rail line, so the refute crying about Buankra. Obikra ne container near the sea railway no so near be you Buankra. Instead so because Tamaliako yi container no Oko Buankra no Akofa na there. It is an your money na and was a big push.
We have details plus business when Sandra Penner takes up in business.
Hello everyone, welcome to Business. My name is Sandra Esinam Apenu. The Minister for Aviation, Joseph Kofiada, says his outfit will embark on an inspection on the airport on Thursday to ascertain the country's preparedness for a potential reopening on September 1. According to him, this will comprise the testing of the airport's equipment and a well-laid-out plan to ensure safety protocols are adhered to. Bismarck Awusa was part of the Shah and House Airport.
President Akufo-Addo hinted the country is likely to reopen its entry points for inbound traffic on September 1 as active cases of the new coronavirus decline. It is for this reason that the Minister for Aviation, Joseph Kofiada, justifies the need to inspect the facility ahead of the possible reopening.
We are working quite hard. The Ghana Airport Company is working with the service providers who are going to help us with the testing and the implementation of the protocols. The Ghana Health Service through the Port Health are also working with us. They are busy putting all the finishing touches together. We invite you tomorrow to come and join us to have a walkthrough of the preparations that we are undertaking to see if we can really start operating again 1st September. I think we've done quite a good job. We may not be quite there. We are going to test the system and make sure it's right before we open.
The minister inspected a total of 3 ongoing project sites. He made his first stop at the Air Navigation Center, an edifice which seeks to harness an integrated air traffic management system. The minister then moved to the new headquarters of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, an 8-story building with a basement which is currently only 30% complete. The engineer indicated that the target was to reach at least 40% progress, but for the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Ada made his final stop at the Northern Aprons, an opening which seeks to serve as a bigger aircraft parking space for about 10 to 13 aircrafts. Alex Aye is the project manager.
Total cost of the project is $57 million.
The aviation minister says these projects, which are currently under construction, seek to complement the president's quest to make Ghana an aviation hub. Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
The Ghana Stock Exchange has returned a negative 20.61% in dollar terms for investors since January this year. This ranks it 10th amongst 15 top stock exchanges on the African continent, but better than the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Charles Nixon has more in this report.
The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index, which measures the total value of all stocks on the bears, has however recorded a negative 18.51% return in cedi terms so far this year. The negative performance has consequently affected the total market capitalization. Investors have therefore lost about 4 billion cedis as the market capitalization has fallen to about 52.7 billion cedis. So far, only 4 out of 38 listed companies on both the main and the SME market have appreciated in value. They are Aluex, Camelot, Das Pharma, and SIC. Interestingly, all the banking stocks have lost value in their shares, with the hardest hit being Car Bank. Nevertheless, trading activities have been quite impressive. Over 1 million worth of shares valued at more than 621 million cedis, however, exchanged hands yesterday when President Akufo-Addo paid a courtesy call on managers of the exchange. Head of research at Data Bank, Alex Boahin, is confident the market will bounce back soon despite the challenges.
The COVID pandemic is partly a factor. You are also talking about the election, which is just around the corner. So all these investors are very concerned about the COVID and also the election that are around the corner. So I think the sentiment will not likely change until December. But in my view, I think that if we are able to have successful election in December, peaceful election, which I believe we will, then we are likely to see some renewed confidence in the market at the tail end of this year.
Still at the Ghana Stock Exchange, Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta says government is on course to get more companies listed on the local bears. According to him, this will open the country up for big opportunities through investment. Mr. Ofori-Atta was speaking on the floor of the Ghana Stock Exchange when he joined President Akufo-Addo on a working visit to the local bears yesterday.
There's a lot to do, but I think we've really set up the platform to be able to move forward, God willing, when the president is re-elected in December. Where therefore the stability of the economy, what we have done in the international bond markets, it's now time to really unfurl ourselves to get companies listed, to be able to make sure the Regional Financial Services Center becomes real, that we demutualize so that there will be more capital to do what we want to do. And for you to know that, you know, between the SEC, Ministry of Finance, we've got your back and we're going to do everything we can for this to be the greatest market.
That'll be all for the first part of business. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more. Thanks for watching.
And it's time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah Ando. The first phase of the national under-20 male team's pre-selection campaign begins on Friday with 70 players. Communications Director of the Ghana Football Association, Henry Asante-Twum, has been speaking about why the campaign of the team has delayed.
The technical team of the Satellites invited about 140 players as they seek to assemble the best players for the junior national team. The first batch of 70 players drawn from clubs across the country are expected to report on Friday. After a week in camp, another batch of 70 players will be invited as Coach Karim Zito and his assistant, Evans Augustine Adote, continue the pre-selection exercise. Communications Director of the Ghana FA, Henry Asante-Twum, speaking to Joy Sports, explained why the national teams are yet to officially start training.
The initial plan was to put all our 4 junior national teams in camp because we had anticipated that in no time, football would return or resume. So we had a meeting with the COVID-19 team in the state, and then they allowed the 2 female national teams, the junior teams, to resume camping, the princesses and the maidens. It took us 3 weeks to put things in place for them to resume camping. So a little over a week ago, they began camping in Cape Coast. And then we also went back to government to seek approval for the 2 junior male national teams to also resume camping, the Starlets and the Black Satellites. Within a day or 2, they had approved our request. But, you know, it's not normal. We are not in normal times. I mean, in the past, immediately after the request was approved, you will say, within 2 days, the players should resume camping or they should report to camp. But because we are in COVID times and we are not in normal times, and this time you need to go through a lot of processes and strategies, it has delayed things a bit.
He added that the delay of the teams to start camping is due to the protocols required by COVID-19.
There are over 50 players of the Satellites and then over 40 players of the Starlets. The 2 put together will be more than 100 or thereabout. And when you go through the mandatory test, the possibility of having players testing positive for COVID is high. So you need to get a place for isolation for that mandatory 2-week period. You also need to put measures in place in such a way that the Ghana Health Service would give you their program and their plan as regards their preparedness and readiness to come and test the players. Now, it takes time because they are attending to a lot of people. There are lots of such situations on their table. So that is what has delayed the resumption of camping for our national team.
The players, technical staff and all essential service providers are advised to report to the GFA Technical Center on Friday at 12 noon.
Now, Barcelona still plan to build a team around skipper Lionel Messi and are trying to convince him to stay, according to the sporting director Ramon Planes. The 33-year-old Argentina forward told the club he wishes to exercise a clause allowing him to leave the club for free. Right, that's it from me for now. I'll be back with more. My name is Hans Mensah Ando.
It's time for Showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha. How are you doing?
I'm good.
This evening, let's talk about Guru. Guru says that for the past over a decade, for the past 10 years, he felt that the VGMA has sabotaged him, and all he's asking the VGMA, way forward, is that they should be neutral with musicians. Basically, that's what Guru is saying, and this comes, just right before, we're having VGMAs on Friday, Saturday.
The 2020 edition.
The 2020 edition, and I don't know really, but let's listen to Guru.
But I just hope that they'll resolve this.
It's been long overdue for Guru. I also think that
They should win some awards?
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Okay.
You know that in Ghana, a lot of people say that, oh, the music business is not paying, we're trying to, get money for blah, blah, blah. But Dope Nation says that the music business is actually booming for them, and it's a very lucrative venture, which we should. Yeah, that was Dope Nation on Prime Morning.
We should give us some of the money then.
Aisha, we have to go into the music business, me and you.
Of course, we'll think about that. Thanks so much for bringing our showbiz up. Welcome back to Joy News Prime to the rest of our stories, and we're returning to our top story on the disturbances at Obum Faase. 26 health workers of the Obum Health Center are alleging torture at the hands of the military officers who raided the community after a clash between some soldiers and civilians in a land dispute on Tuesday. Administrator of the facility, Adam Adramani, says the officers fired gunshots indiscriminately in the pursuit of the civilians, adding some of his staff received slaps. He says his staff have been left traumatized and are refusing to work, while some of them are also on admission.
But, the military said they are here until they got the missing guns. They are not leaving. And then the issue too is that my staff who were affected were those who are not staying in the staff bungalows, because our staff bungalow is not enough, and some has to rent outside. So those who are renting in the community, they were those who were brutally affected.
So how many were they?
There are about 26 who are staying outside the facility bungalows. Then most of them, when they asked and they said they are health staff, they were allowed to go. But it got to a time that it's like everybody in the community were being turned to be a health staff. When they ask anybody, they say they are health staff. So it comes to a time they don't know who was really a health staff or something. So they pick up everybody, including teachers and what have you.
Adam Adramani appealed to the military to temper justice with mercy, as the workers have been left terrified.
Fear and what have you. My staff, most of our staff, even if they are on duty, they can't even work because they're shooting. According to the way they explain, they were all over. The shooting were all over. They broke some of their doors, went in to search for the missing guns, and they couldn't find anything. So the fears, actually, they have fears in them. So that he has also been able to talk to the military. They have promised our safety. Then for how long this thing will happen after that, I cannot best tell. But we're only appealing to the municipal chief executive, the regional minister, and then the MP of the area, that's and the person of the community will have their people. Because those who did this, maybe they were just few, maybe like 2-3 people. And it affected everybody in the community.
Joy News sources meanwhile say one of the weapons taken from the soldiers on Tuesday has been retrieved. Let's do some politics, because the cocoa processing company faces severe financial challenges and limited opportunities. But despite the gloom and uncertainties, President Akufo-Addo is still optimistic the company can turn around its fortunes. Established 57 years ago, the company has seen years of decline primarily due to mismanagement. Its debt portfolio rises by the day, with a legacy debt of over $100 million. The current management is, however, determined to turn around the depressing state of CPC and managed to impress President Akufo-Addo, who paid a visit to the factory as part of his familiarization tour of the state institution. Board Chairman Kweku Suban said, with the right investment, the company will bounce back.
Unfortunately, however, Your Excellency, cocoa processing company has been badly managed in the past. And we are currently battling with a huge legacy debt of more than $100 million since we assumed office. But this is not the time to complain, because we believe that you put us here to bring the transformation that you expect. So we are all ready, and we are facing up to the challenge as much as we can. Since coming into office, Your Excellency, as a board and management, we have embarked on a number of policy interventions, all aimed at turning around CPC. And some of the interventions, as we can see, are already yielding positive results. And we are grateful, Your Excellency, for your government support in this regard.
Managing Director Nana Ajeni Mboateng said despite the negative effects of COVID-19, the company recorded some growth.
CPC, mindful of the value addition and the Ghana Beyond AIDS, has since 2017-18 increased our percentage growth on the confectionery in 8% in 2017, 16.5% in 2018-19. This year, although the season has been hit with the COVID, our sales at the confectionery as of June was 13%, with the Royal Natural Cocoa Powder and the 70, 80, 90% dark chocolate hitting it on 45.23% of our total sales. Your Excellency, this is a clear indication of the increased awareness of the health benefits of consuming cocoa products, among others.
President Akufo-Addo indicated government support for the company to revitalize it.
The assistance and intervention that you require of government in terms of your relationship with Cocoa Marketing Company, Cocoa Board, and the indebtedness to AfriExim is something that we're going to have to work on together. But you will have my instinctive support. And I will be sitting down with the Minister for Agriculture, who's one of the outstanding ministers of my government, that we can find a way to be able to meet the demands that you're making.
Government is today touting its achievements in the area of local government administration and rural development, outlining a list of initiatives embarked upon by the NPP government in line with its 2016 manifesto. Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Halima Mahama, says her ministry has achieved 90% of its policies and programs since 2017. She says a comparison with the performance of the Eswell Mahama government leaves the NPP's records unmatched.
From the Common Fund, 2016, 461 million was transferred. 2017, 663 million. 2018, 698 million. And 2019, 967 million. So you see, we keep increasing the amounts transferred to district assemblies. For 2020, we have records on just the first quarter. We have transferred 184. But you look at the difference, 2016 to 2019, 461,245,117.86. Talking about 400. And now, for 2019, 967,380,625.95. So that's the difference we're talking about. We are performing, and we are ensuring that the district assemblies get the resources to do what they want to do, whatever. They decide on their activities and they implement them. The ministry has also completed what we refer to as integration of the district development facility with the district assembly common fund responsive factor grant. Some of you may have heard that there was the district development facility started in 2008 and continued throughout 2012. It's based on performance assessment. We do annual performance assessment of the previous year and grade them. Those who pass are given some points and given some resources to identify projects within their districts and implement. This annual assessment will look at just the minimum conditions, like have you had your meetings, have you complied with the various laws, have you done enough in terms of raising revenue? So we're just looking at what they are supposed to do and assessing them to find out whether they have complied in that regard. And the previous government had problem of raising what they call counterpart funding to support this process. The donors some donors were prepared to give some discretionary funding, and then we were supposed to put in 20%. At some point, they were not able to do that, and the donors therefore did not put in their money, so it was stopped. When we came back, the Minister of Finance got him what we were expected to give per annum was 20 million. He provided the 20 million and $20 million to as a counterpart funding to trigger funding from the donor communities.
And as you know, remuneration for assembly members has become a topical issue after former President Mahama promised to pay assemblymen salaries if he is re-elected. But the minister says that arrangement flies in the face of the international best practices on local governance.
They are elected as assembly members to support development of their community. And they are not on the national payroll. They are not on the national payroll. They are not full-time employees. And the idea is to give the opportunity to a professional who is interested in supporting the development of their district and able to provide time to do that without having to retire from his professional activity. And we had situations where engineers, either as consultants in their private business or engineers in various companies, deciding that they are interested in supporting the works department of their assemblies. So they would like to be assembly member. I remember Obi, when he was MP long ago, said he wanted to be assembly member so he can provide legal services to Akropong South Assembly. And so many people come. I'm working, yes, but I want to provide. We shouldn't deny them that opportunity by saying that retire and be full-time. Under the consolidated fund, you cannot pay part-timers from consolidated fund.
She says the NPP will complete consultations on the agenda to introduce partisan activities into district-level elections. A second term for President Kufuor, she says, will build consensus and ensure the amendment of the Constitution to allow for participation of political parties at the local level.
We're going to work and build consensus towards amendment. We haven't given up on the election of MMDCs. We cannot give up. We believe that effective decentralization starts with our electing of our MMDCs. And we have to be clear about that. We shouldn't play the ostrich game. So MPP is committed to this process. But we also understand that we have to build a consensus before we can amend the various provisions, the entrenched provisions through referendum. So we're working, we're going to work on that, build consensus towards amendment of the Constitution and other consequential laws to allow for the direct popular election of MMDCs on a partisan basis and to devolve more powers to the local authorities. Indeed, let me take a bit of your time. There's this book, Decentralization Reforms in Ghana, written by Professor Kwame Ahoy and Dr. Callistus. Page 62, there's a section on making the decentralization system partisan. Let me read it to you. And for those who want copies, I can give you the page of copies. It reads, the Commission, the CRC, recommended that the Constitution should be amended so that at an appropriate time in the future, Parliament may pass legislation to make the local government system partisan. The seventh government, that is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government of the Fourth Republic, has sent out very strong signals that perhaps the appropriate time is now. While this may be a step in the right direction, it should be borne in mind that the step to make the local government system partisan cannot be taken without an amendment to the relevant constitutional provisions and consequential amendments to the Local Government Act. The 7th government, he repeats again in the same page, the 7th government of the 4th Republic has sent out similar strong signals that it intends to have DCEs elected. This is an inevitable consequence of any decisions to make the local government system partisan. The strongest objections to electing DCEs under the present constitutional arrangement is that there is no sieving mechanism.
That was Haji Halima Mahama, local government minister. Now, we're still following up also on the projects on government's project tracker portal. We take you back to the Oti region, where a bridge at Akar quarters in the Jasikan district, captured as an ongoing project, does not exist. Joy News in October 2019 carried a report on the deplorable nature of Oti regional roads and featured that caved-in bridge. Now, a sword cutting ceremony was done subsequently to fix the bridge. However, only a heap of chipping, sand and rusty iron rods remain where the sword cutting ceremony was performed. Correspondent Peter Senu visited the community and has more in the following report.
Akar Quarters is a rural peasant farming community in the Jasikan district in the Oti region. The road through this community is the shortest from Jasikan to Tapabotoasi that holds one of the biggest markets in the Oti region. The road is in a bad state, but that is not the focus for today. According to government project tracker, this caved-in bridge is under construction and captured as an ongoing project. This, residents say, is not the reality on the ground. Matthias is one of the elders in the community.
October 2019.
If the DC had cut sword in October 2019 and it is said that some work is ongoing, it is not true. Never. You can see for yourself. If the vice president says they are fixing the bridge, it is not true. Joy News carried a report on the deplorable nature of Oti regional roads in October 2019 and featured this caved-in bridge. Sources say a sword-cutting ceremony was performed here in the same month, but nothing has since happened. In fact, if anything has happened, it is this heap of chipping sand and these iron rods that are remnants of the sword-cutting ceremony. The difficulty here is that whenever it rains, taxi cabs, which is the popular means of commuting here, cannot use the road. Their appeal is to have the road and the caved-in bridge fixed before the rains start again. But what is the importance of this road to the people? Matthias again. We are farmers in this community. This road leads to a district hospital at Jasikan, and when there's an emergency, we can quickly get to the hospital for treatment. It is also the main road to Abotoasi market for all traders living around here. Fixing the road and the bridge will prevent any form of accident to us. Gagbo Mensa is the headman for the community. This road is a major road for all traders to Tapabotoasi market. Fixing it will improve economic life in the area. Watch out for our next reality on the grounds on Tracking the Tracker. Peter Senu for Joy News.
And back here in Accra, my name is Aisha Ibrahim, and we are also taking you to the Upper East region, where residents say construction work is yet to begin on the 120-unit housing project set to be under construction on the delivery tracker launched by Vice President Dr. Bawumia. Joy News' checks at the project site located at Puso Namongo in the Talensi district revealed that except for the clearing of the land, which was done last week, no work has been done on that project. Residents say shortly after Vice President Bawumia's town hall address on government's infrastructure projects, the contractors came to site to clear portions of the land after months of failing to show up. Correspondent Albert Sori has been following up and has more in the following report.
In November last year, when President Nana Akufo-Addo came to the Upper East region to cut sword for the construction of the Pualugu multipurpose dam, he also used the opportunity to cut sword for the construction of some housing units, which had been christened the Rock Estates in the Talinsi district of the Upper East region. Now, the site for the construction of this project is located at Pusunamongo, not too far away from Pualugu. So today I am here to check if any work has been done on this site, because the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, when he launched the delivery tracker, said that work was ongoing on this project. In fact, on the delivery tracker itself, it has been stated there that work is ongoing on this site for 120 housing units made up of houses and apartments. Now, the signpost to this project is located on the road, that is the main Bolgatanga Tamale road. There is a bulldozing machine parked by the signboard. Now, at first sight, what you think is that the land immediately after the signpost is the land that is going to be used for this project. But in fact, what is happening is that the area that has been cleared is deeper inside the area. And because of the isolated nature of the area, you rarely find residents around, except for passers-by who are using the main Tamale-Bolgatanga road. It had to take Nelson Tibil, who we met coincidentally, to direct us to the place, because he's a farmer who has his farms around this particular project site. So it had to take Nelson to walk us through a sort of pathway that was recently created to get access to this place. And because it rained 2 days ago and yesterday, it's been very difficult getting access to the place, because it is very muddy as we speak.
Well, that was last year November when the president came here. So up to now, it was last Thursday that a driver came with a machine. So if before he came here, we could realize that he cleared a land. That was the very day. So we're also here doing some farming. So we let the farming, as he was clearing the trees, we also cutting firewood. So the driver promised us that he will be back to fence the old things. So it was Monday that we were here when I heard some noise. So I could realize that that was the driver. He passed the machine, but he did not move it into the site. So that, and then yesterday was on Tuesday, and it rains yesterday. So today that I am here, I did not see anybody.
What you will find is that there are a lot of trees around, a few of which have been cut down to pave way for the construction. But apart from that, nothing else has been done. There's been some leveling of the land, as you would see in the background, and then around it there are some maize farms, one of which belongs to Nelson.
Yeah, there wasn't any work here until last Saturday. We were not even knowing that they will come to do something here. They just came harvesting anyhow. They just came to meet us here. Before I realized, they started cutting these things. We were even panicking that they will enter into our things.
We do not know exactly when houses are going to spring up on this site. And it is difficult to tell what exactly they mean when they say on the delivery tracker that work is ongoing. But what we can report is that except for the bulldozing of some trees and the leveling of the land, and maybe the creation of the pathway to this place, nothing else has been done so far. My name is Albert Sori, reporting for Joy News.
Well, President John Mahama has also introduced his running mate to the Asantehene with the promise to invest $10 billion into the country's infrastructure when given the nod. He explains the fund he calls the Big Push will go into roads, schools and projects that will expand local economies. The Asantehene Otumfuo said to the second called for a peaceful campaign, asking the former president to look into reasons why he lost the elections in 2016. Nanaya Ojima was there for Joy News and has filed this report.
Running mate to John Mahama, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman joined supporters of the NDC to receive him at the Kumasi airport. The NDC presidential candidate then moved to Menchia Palace, where he introduced his running mate, Professor Opoku-Agyeman, to the Asantehene. Addressing the king, the NDC flag bearer expressed his unhappiness with the delay in completion of some projects in the region, including the Kumasi airport, promising a $2 billion big push for infrastructure annually when voted into power.
Our infrastructure development has been gradual, but at this point, we have to fasten the pace to attain economic transformation and acceleration.
Infrastructure no ekodru tempesubi netimia ayemfa so ama
we will introduce what we call the big push to build roads, hospitals and schools to increase access.
Mr. Mahama says the next NDC government will replace the current community mining system with a cooperative mining system where all legal owners of mining concessions will get their livelihoods back.
Mining concession and excavators of some miners have been seized for party members. All these will be reversed for the owners by our party, which is for social justice.
Cooperative mining,
we will make the youth organize themselves into cooperatives and we'll get safety officers for them to ensure safety there. We will take money from them as they mine and will give the amount back only when they reclaim the site.
Running mate, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, after the introduction to Otumfuo, sought his blessings and acceptance. In his remarks, the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei II asked the former president to find out why he lost the 2016 elections. He also called for a peaceful campaign and voting.
I told him that after the election, some people said hunger and anger is the reason they voted against him. After he was made flag bearer, I asked whether he has done an introspection to guide the future. He has listed all his achievements here, and his opponents are doing the same. I want him to tell Ghanaians what went wrong in his previous government and what he will do differently.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
We'll take a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more business with Sandra Pena.
Hello everyone, I have more business news for you. Food processing and packaging firm Samba Food has expressed worry over their inability to acquire raw materials from local farmers, despite being the first indigenous firm to be listed on the Ghana Alternative Market. High cost of local produce and activities of middlemen continue to hamper the operations. Chief Executive Officer of Samba Food, Letitia Safo, made this known to Joy Business after presenting the company's 2019 financial performance report at the Ghana Stock Exchange. Fact behind the figure series in Accra.
Amber Foods recorded an impressive performance last year with a growth of about 60%. This is as a result of the installation of a new machinery at the factory. According to the CEO, Letitia Safo, her outfit has depended on the market for capital since it listed on the Ghana alternative market. Speaking to Joy Business, she expressed worry about the impact of increase in price of raw materials on its operations.
Things were actually moving. The only thing that was hampering our production were the cost of the raw materials that had escalated last year. At the moment, due to storage capacity, we are unable to go directly to the farmers. We have to depend on middlemen because the volume that we are buying is not that much because we can't store it. But once we are able to get enough storage capacity, we'll be going directly to the farmers, give them contract farming for us to produce all what we need for us.
She has also been speaking about the expansion of the company with the presence of a new factory.
It's an urgent need of expansion that is relocating to our own land in Tema, where we want to build a customized real food factory that will encompass the laboratories, the proper storage facilities, and of course, to house everything.
Amber Foods is also requesting support from government to help alleviate the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on its business.
Now, Parliament has passed the Development Finance Institution Bill 2020 to help strengthen the country's financial sector. This will see the birth of the Ghana Development Bank, that is the GDB, to regulate the works of non-deposit-taking development finance institutions in the country. But where does this establishment leave the Ghana National Investment Bank, that's the NIB, and what is the current state of NIB? A member of Parliament's Finance Committee, Anthony Ifa, joins me via Zoom for some discussion. Good evening, sir, and thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, and grateful you could join us this evening. What will be the core, first of all, the core mandate of the Ghana Development Bank?
Well, the Ghana Development Bank, the government is still in the process of setting it up, and the indication is that in September, hopefully the bank would have capitalized enough to start it. Now, the government of Ghana is expecting some international financial institutions to put together about $500 million as seed capital for this development bank. The whole purpose of this bank is to transform industry in Ghana. It's to transform agric and to improve agro-processing and also to look at the housing and mortgage sector. These subsectors that I've mentioned require huge sums of money. They need long tenure, loan tenures. They need some bit of concessionality in the rates that the banks will offer so that they can also, as it were, contribute to the economic development. So the main focus of the development bank that the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, yes, is anticipating is that they can help revitalize or transform industries, do agro-processing, particularly construction.
All right.
When I say construction, we're looking more at the housing sector, the mortgage sector.
I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering where this leaves the National Investment Bank, that's the NIB, which has a core mandate of merchant banking. Will it be collapsed?
No. NIB itself is at the verge of collapse. As at 2018, looking at the accounts of this bank and evaluation, there were all indications that NIB was actually collapsing. But because it's a state bank, the government is treating it differently, more like it's trying to put in every effort to ensure it survives. So the Ghana Development Bank is not going to kill NIB. Rather, government has put in place arrangements, financing arrangements such that NIB would be revived and then they can become profitable. One thing, the first step that government of Ghana did for NIB was to swap 500 million cedis for the shares of NIB in Nestle Ghana. so that they could have immediate liquidity to operate. But after, a while, when they did the full assessment, they realized, no, NIB needs about 2.2 billion cedis to be able to, as it were, clean its books, to have liquidity, and to meet the minimum capital requirement, 2.2 billion. So government realized the 500 million swap transaction was also going to help NIB with liquidity and also to meet the minimum capitalization. So when they really put down on government, decided that they will put NIB under a special arrangement to be managed by the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, GATT, to raise the required funding of about 2.2 billion cedis to revive NIB.
Let me cut you there. So clearly you said in your own words, NIB is at the verge of collapse. What do you say to critics who said that, okay, NIB should have been part of the banking sector cleanup, should have been one of the banks that should go? And then secondly, after that, I want you to address whether it is a managerial issue or staffing issue, because we know for the past 2 years, they've not been able to publish their financial statements.
Yes, NIB had a toxic loan book. Toxic loan book, a book that they could not recover most of the loans. They had made losses consistently over the last 5 years or so, the past half decade. So the bank itself was weak, and there were managerial weaknesses also. So what the government has done is to bring NIB under GATT for special attention. First of all, to find the money of 2.2 billion cedis for the bank, so the bank can clean its books, like I said, to meet the minimum capital of 400 million set up by the Bank of Ghana, and also to have some liquidity to operate. So NIB itself, if left on its own, was part of 5 banks that really were struggling, and GATT was able to raise 800 million cedis from government of Ghana to recapitalize. So
you don't think it's fair for people to say that NIB should have gone like other banks? You don't think it's fair for critics to say that, or the general public to also say that NIB should have been part of the banks that went down, especially based on what you are telling me?
I can't get you. Are you saying
I'm asking. I mean, I said earlier, my question earlier was as to whether you don't think it's fair for critics to say that NIB should have been collapsed as part of the banking sector cleanup, based on what you're telling me.
In my statement, Sandra, I said that this is a government bank, 100% owned by government, so they are given a special treat. But ordinarily, NIB was at the verge of collapse, given that for about half a decade, they were making losses. For about half a decade, they were making losses, and they had wiped all their profits, their capital, and they didn't have liquidity. So technically, that should have been the situation. But government is giving it some form of treatment, financial, some special case situation.
We don't have enough time. Let me just ask you quickly. We are running out of time. Aside recapitalization, do you also think that, and then mismanagement that you spoke about, do you think that the bank is veering off its mandate, the core mandate for which it was established, which is merchant banking? That's the reason for one of the reasons for the problems.
Now, with the recapitalization, Ghana Amalgamated Bank would have a role on the board, and they'll be improving the management of the bank, because there were weaknesses, obvious weaknesses, and also the mandate of NIB is now to focus more on industrialization again, because that was the whole essence of National Investment Bank. But they also deviated into retail banking, because it became more profitable to have current accounts, savings accounts, to do personal loans, and all the other loans that universal banks did. So they moved away from their core mandate of a development bank for an investment bank into retail. The government wants them to go back to industrialization. That is why GATT is leading that effort. So the capitalization of 2.2 billion will not be left in the hands of the existing management. That is involved. New management will be hired. New systems will be put in place. So even the auditors have been changed.
All right, so Honorable, I want to, unfortunately, I've run out of time. Very interesting conversation we are having, but I want to leave it. A member of Parliament's Finance Committee is Anthony Ifeanyi. He's been speaking to us about the state of NIB, but we head to the commodity market now, where crude oil traded for $45.75. If our details coming up. For business tonight with me, Sandra S. Site, myjournalline.com/business. And if you also missed the biggest stories for today, you can catch it with me, Quick Biz with Sandra on Facebook, Sandra Essenam, and on Twitter at Sandra Essenam1. Thanks so much for watching, and do have a great evening.
Thanks for staying with us. Welcome to the second part of sports. My name is Hans Mensa Ando. Now, World Athletics did not provide financial support to member associations as relief for the distress caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to the General Secretary of the Ghana Athletics Association, Bawa Fuseni. The GAA presented a list of 50 athletes to the NSA for vetting to be supported by the YEA 500 Ghana City monthly stipend for athletes. He says it was necessary because of the lack of support from their world organization.
Bawa Fuseni says there is no such support for athletics associations.
They did something for athletes, the whole world, worldwide athletes, and they gave certain criteria by which athletes can apply for that funding. In Ghana, we have 3 athletes who applied for, and one was listed. That was how far I know about it. I don't know whether she has been given money or she has not been given, because it's directly to the athletes. We had the information and we had to give it to the athletes for the world to deal with them directly. So that's how far the support that athletes got from the World Athletics. But in terms of the federation itself, no, there was no support from the World Athletics. Neither was there support from the Confederation of African Athletics. Unlike the way the FIFA and CAF are done for Ghana Football Association, we didn't have the opportunity, or we didn't have that funding from our international bodies.
The GAA have struggled to attract sponsorship in recent years, and Bauer anticipates it could be tougher post-COVID.
Before COVID, it was already very difficult to get sponsorship in Ghana, and the COVID has worsened the case. We were talking to a lot of companies that were willing to give us, and one came through Ghana Maritime Authority. It gave us $12,000, which we used for our first competition. The subsequent ones, we were still following them till COVID came in. So during the COVID, we couldn't go because everyone was struggling. Going back to them would have been very insensitive. So we are waiting after COVID. We'll go back and still talk to them. If they still have something for us, then we'll be very grateful. But I can tell you that it won't be easy after COVID.
The GAA cancelled their programs for the year 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which broke in Ghana in March early this year.
Let's do some tennis now. World #1 Novak Djokovic insists he does not have to repair his reputation after hosting an exhibition event where he and a number of players contracted coronavirus. Djokovic, Bonakoric and Grigor Dimitrov all tested positive after playing and socializing at the Adria Tour in Serbia and Croatia without any social distancing measures. That's it for sports. There is more on myjoyonline.com/sports. I am Hans Mensa Ando. Many thanks for your time.
And as I wrap up the bulletin tonight, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. You'll get all the updates there. Many thanks for watching. PM Express is up next, and you know we're doing a tracker of the manifestos. Today, we're tracking the creative arts industry. You want to stay on the Joy News channel for more. Enjoy the rest of our programs.